Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 10. There's 10 of these of Talking Bollocks. Today's episode is on the biggest win you have in the reefing hobby, and if we have time, which I think we will because there's not many people here, we'll also do biggest fail.
Oh boy.
So yeah, I'll kick it off with my biggest win. Does anyone... Let's play a game. Let's guess what everybody's win is.
Oh, fuck.
What do you think my biggest win is? Brandon?
I really don't know. Ron, my guess is just your amazing tank in the background as a whole.
As a whole?
As a whole, a gaping one.
Breezy.
Breezy.
Yeah, I think the guessing game's probably going to be a bit shit. Right, my biggest win in this hobby...
Is it being an international coral distributor?
Oh,
I'll take that. I'll take that. I enjoy that. Slight trouser twitch from that. Thank you, Mr. Taters. No, my biggest win in this hobby so far, and it is in all four of my systems, is bare bottom.
Yeah.
I love the aesthetics of sand. Sand sifting gobies, Nessarius snails. I mean, I'll be honest, a diamond goby and Nessarius snails were one of the reasons why I got into the marine hobby. I used to go to aquatic shops with my friends who were all into tropical tanks. They were all pretty negative towards marine based on price. And they were obsessed with salt creep. Your whole house will turn into salt. Don't do it. So I stepped away from salt for years. And then eventually one day I was in the shop and a lady was going around and she was feeding all of the small tanks. And there was this diamond goby. And as she put food in the tank, this diamond goby is grabbing at the sand and, you know, the sand is coming through the gills onto the sand. And then all of these little zombie snails start twisting out the sand. And I was like, oh, it just spoke to me in a way that tropical fish tanks never did and never will. And I was like, this is incredible. And then there was a feather duster. And the more I looked at this tank, and this tank must have been about 1.5 feet long. Lucky if it was a foot deep by a foot high. You know, it was a bank of marine tanks. And there must have been 25 things in that tank that made me just absolutely gobsmacked. So just to go back, my biggest win is bare bottom. The main reason being that I am mostly into SPS and it allows ridiculously chaotic flow. It also allows me to have, so I have 4 MP40s on this system, for example, 3 of which of those MP40s are right at the very bottom of the back wall, keeping detritus suspended. It also means that my SPS are not getting physically blasted by direct flow. So the flow comes underneath this cantilever rockscape, hits the front glass, spins up off the front glass, and then passes back over my SPS. So they get reasonable flow, but if I had sand in there, no chance. The last reefer I had sand. I just couldn't fall in love with the tank based on how dirty and how much the sand moved all the time. The sand would blow up and it would hit the glass and it would spin back and then go into all of my rocks. And then the rocks, all of the nooks, the crannies, the holes, where all the biological filtration and bacteria was living was getting choked up. Then algae would grow in those holes. And yeah. So I tried bare bottom for the first time with this, other than quarantine. And I don't see myself owning a tank now with sand.
Mm.
And that is going against all of the critters that got me into the hobby to begin with. And I still miss them and I still love them. And sometimes toy with the idea of maybe a small tank just for a goby.
Yeah.
And some Nessarius snails just to scratch that itch. But small tanks for me are just infinitely harder to look after. So yeah, my biggest win is bare bottom.
Nice.
Brandon.
Yeah.
What is your biggest win?
Honestly, I think it's probably getting in the hobby and staying in the hobby after, a couple tank crashes. But I guess more specifically, probably the first time I had a clown pair with a bubble tip anemone. And it was just really cool. It's an awesome feeling when you see that symbiotic thing go down. Um, that was really the biggest one for me. But just, managing to keep going, even though, I've hit some definite speed bumps in the past. But that one was really cool to see. And then seeing them split is
Well,
another cool.
seeing the clowns hosting.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
You
Yeah.
fucking I knew he was sitting there. I knew he was
I
sitting
was
there
going to
on
ask
mute.
which one would be preferred. Like was it the clowns or the Nim that hosted? But
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was waiting.
You
Yeah.
scumbags.
I appreciate you teeing it up. I just didn't want to interrupt. I was waiting to pounce, though.
Same here.
I'm glad.
Same here. I was like, who's gonna do it? Russ.
No. Yeah. No, so that was
Yeah, and like, I don't care, but I know it just gets you wound up. So,
Do you know there is only one reason why it winds me up, and that is so many people now say it incorrectly. It's now becoming a thing.
Yes.
That really bugs me. It's like, so the word etc., right?
Yes.
Okay. So the correct way to write etc. in a sentence, the shortened version, is etc, because it is etc. Okay.
Yes.
Everybody I know who is below the age of 25, and I have WhatsApp groups for my company and everyone's in them, they all write ECT. Now, I don't know if it's their phones that the amount of times it's typed, it just then becomes in the dictionary and is accepted. But then I Googled it, and it does now turn out that it's been said so wrong for so long, ECT is now being accepted.
it's like irregardless is now in the dictionary. Without regard is now cool to use.
It's just, and that is why I want to fight against hosting. It's no, it doesn't make sense. Okay, see, etc. Right? If somebody writes ECT long enough, it just becomes a thing. But the actual description of how I'm just being a total dick here, Brandon. I'm sorry. Back to you.
No, you're fine. See, ECT is electroconvulsive therapy in my world.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Yeah,
Sean,
you're going deep in the weeds here, Ron. I like it.
Yeah, man. So
Jimmy's rustled big time.
but it's like, it's like, I hate it, like in movies in Hollywood when they're like a psychiatrist versus a psychologist. They don't fucking know the difference. And it's just one of those things that you're just like, God, this is making everyone stupid. Like, I feel like I can link with you on that one, Ron. But maybe we should get shirts made that says "Host this motherfucker," and that'll be like your signature shirt.
Yeah. I've got a few ideas for t-shirts.
Do any of them include designs that people would be comfortable wearing in public or around children?
No. I could make child-friendly ones, right? So it could be like host this, and it could be a friendly unicorn.
Okay.
Something like that.
I mean, I'd wear it.
Yeah, it's just that the fuck word kind of does limit some of the marketing opportunities.
It very much so does, and that is why when we first kicked all of this off, I asked Jim. This was based off of Scotty's presentation on the parasitic copepods. Was that, Russ, do you remember, was that Masna or Macna, or it's Markna, wasn't it? Markna. It was
Markna, yes.
It was the Mark Levinson version. So for all of our viewers, you can go and check that out. So because of Mark's online persona, we knew that if Scotty said, look, can you put this logo on the screen, and am I allowed to mention it? He would have said no. So Jim very kindly took the fuck off the logo and just called it Reefy As. So Bernadette has actually suggested to me on more than one occasion, you should just be Reefy As, and it would open up the place to more people. But, we are Reefy as fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, she suggested that, but see if you join here and you don't like the word fuck, then you're not going to enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I vote
Fair.
leave it in.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Family friendly T-shirts is probably a good idea, even for some members here. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Russ is not going to go downstairs and get a coffee with a T-shirt with that written on it. He also has
Yeah, they can read now.
They can read now.
Reefy is France, or we could come up with a different version, but yeah, but maybe a softer T-shirt is better. Anyway, sorry,
What-
Brandon.
Yeah.
And like a QR code to join the Discord.
I like that.
Good idea.
I mean, we could put Reefy as fuck and then put the fuck part in Braille or something, you know, something that isn't so.
So everyone has to
easily-
touch you to find out what it is.
See, that goes with your dick joke there.
Yeah, it does.
See? Yeah, that's an extension of that.
So
Okay.
can the QR code go to a picture of Ron in his clown makeup?
Oh, fuck's sake.
I mean, there's a generator on printables. We could make it right now.
In all honesty, I looked at buying a Ronald McDonald outfit just for Russ, right?
Damn.
They're too expensive, so I ended up just getting a doctor's coat. So, and then, see, Russ is the guy at school that stirs the shit and never gets into trouble because he actually suggests that everyone else does the naughty shit, and then he just stands back and goes, bravo.
Isn't that what Charles Manson did?
Danger, danger, danger.
And I watch him do it on a daily basis in here, and it's like, I love what he does though. He doesn't ask Jim to make these things. He just says, "I wish someone would make."
Clever.
Super friends. May I request
Love it.
a picture of Ron in Ronald McDonald makeup?
Boom.
And then
30
somebody
seconds later.
makes it.
Brilliant.
Yeah. What an amazing bunch of people. Honestly, I cannot believe how fortunate I am to have found so many mutants.
Yeah.
And
I mean, what am I going to do? Go into paint and try to draw it?
Can you please do that? They got rid of paint, didn't they?
I think it's still on.
I thought
I don't know if they
whole big
update it.
hoo-ha was that they were getting rid of paint. Does it still save in bitmap?
That's a great question. I think so. I might have to open it up here in a second.
Oh, miss.bmps.
Man, this is going to draw in all the reefing viewers.
They're gonna love it. Right, so Brandon, are you done with your biggest win? Is that so? Just remaining in the hobby through trials and tribulations and having your hosting situation.
Yeah, and you know, like again, no cheese here, but finding you guys has been very motivating to keep going and to get better. So appreciate it.
No, I totally agree with you. That's actually Jim's biggest win is finding us, and I have to agree with him. And we all go through these peaks and troughs with reefing, right?
Yeah.
And the peaks are fine to live with on your own. Not everyone wants to show off. So very few people photobomb their tank threads here, which I love that everyone just, when they're having a win, they'll post a win.
Yeah.
When a reefing community comes in to full force and play is when you're going through a real problem. And that's where I have to say Reefy as fuck is amazing. Because instead of you go on reef to reef and it's what are your parameters? No matter how many times you've posted them.
What the fuck's wrong with you? You waste of space. Get out of the hobby. Uninstall.
So, somebody asks about treating a disease and they're like, what's your ALK?
And you say, no, I've got marine velvet. And they're like, I didn't ask that. I asked what your ALK is. Whoa, wild. I've met some really nice people on Reef to Reef, so I just have to say that it's not all bad.
And that's just a problem with forums as a whole, is people love to answer questions that weren't asked. You can ask somebody what time it is, and they'll go down a tangent about how a watch is made without ever fucking saying it's 10:28.
Yeah.
Or they'll ask you, why do you want to know what time it is? I checked the time yesterday. Why do you need to know it? It's like, for fuck's sake, just answer the question or don't reply.
Yeah.
Just shut the fuck up.
Yes.
That's it. Don't just fill space.
Yes. So many people can say so little by saying so much, or whatever that phrase is. You know, they just type and type and it really says nothing.
Oh, yeah, I could say a name
Yeah,
there.
when I'm feeling like a smarmy asshole, I just read a forum for a few minutes and I realize I'm not as bad as I thought.
I
By the
think knowing when it's coming. So see if you have an inner bell end, not physically. Not talking about any penises. If you have that in you, if you learn just to see it coming and just know when to shut your mouth, because I have days in here where I get driven absolutely nuts, and I know even if I go on reefy as fuck, I'm probably going to be slightly off. Or what I find in reefy as fuck is that everyone pokes fun so much, and nobody means any mean by it ever.
Yep.
But if you're feeling slightly, soft that day, if his fuck's not the place to be.
Sensitive.
Yep. If you're feeling sensitive, don't engage with some people on Reefy as fuck. You will lose your mind.
Makes sense.
If you post a picture of a dead fish and ask what happened, somebody is going to say it died.
Right.
Don't be scared of the truth, people. Don't be scared of the truth.
But will you get a fucking cuddle from Ron is the real question.
I think I can sense when somebody's really actually up against it. You know, people will send. Russ and I are fucking awful for this. When somebody says something about their tank, usually one of us will say, "Have you tasted it?" And if you're really distressed about something, it's just such an asshole thing to say, but it's only meant in fun, and then we will always try and help.
Right.
After you've tasted it.
By the way, I had Microsoft Copilot. I just said make me a photo of Ronald McDonald, and it's in the chat. That's the best it could do. So,
that's way off.
I know we kind of feel ripped off, even though it's a free, AI image generator. But still,
I'll be
You
honest.
have to specify it like Ronald McDonald from McDonald's to help with the AI.
Yeah, well, I put MacDonald in there because I didn't want it to, sometimes it'll say, sorry, we can't make that, it's copyrighted or something.
What about Ronald McDougal with the golden?
All right, let's see what we can do.
Have you seen the clown's eyes and the kid's
With a big
faces in that
Mick.
photo? With a big dick.
No, with a big Mick, not a Big Mac. Ronald McDougal with a big Mick burger, Ron.
I heard you say the words with a big dick.
I also heard big dick.
I'm making a McDowell's joke.
Yeah, I get it.
No, you're right, though. We don't want to get put on some list or something for shenanigans.
Yeah, we have the golden arcs.
God, I dread my search history ever being read out of context.
Same here. Right, Russ, what is your biggest win in the hobby, please?
So are you talking about like an accomplishment or like what I feel is the biggest, like...
Literally whatever you see as your biggest win. Doesn't matter.
I love elk testing. I've had it for a few years, had a few different machines, and I feel like it just lets me be super lazy because when my elk's where I want it to be, I feel like everything else is. And I feel like with automated dosing and everything, when there's a problem, when something's funny going on in the tank and I see a change in the elk, a change in the automated dosing, it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine to start investigating something if my consumption drops a lot.
So my second win was going to be automated testing and therefore automated dosing. And I have to agree with you. I think perhaps the older I get and the busier I've become with the business, getting a little bit lazier. I mean, the fact that these machines just do it all for me, it's a pretty big win for the hobby, I think, for most people, if they can afford it or they want to get into it. I would highly recommend it. I love it.
There's nothing wrong with this approach, but it blows my mind that 10 years ago, I was doing the manual test and then just dumping in a 50 milliliter container out when I remembered to, trying to do it every day. So inconsistent. That was before kids, before a lot of responsibility. So no chance I could keep up with it at all now doing that way.
Yeah, when you look at marine aquariums 15, 20 years ago and you see all of the success and the colourful, perfect corals, fucking respect to you, my man. Fucking respect, because I don't know if I would be in the hobby if I had to do everything manually. I definitely wouldn't have 4 systems. I definitely wouldn't be trying to actively grow corals to then sell. No way.
Well, back then, calcium reactors were still around, and I think that was kind of I guess, I don't want to say equivalent, but, it's in the ballpark where once you got that dialed in, you were able to hold things pretty steady based off the calcium reactor output. Kind of similar to, like the automated testing now.
Yeah, it's been around a while now, hasn't it? It's funny. I never knew anyone that had one, other than people on here. I don't physically know anyone in Scotland that has one or runs one. But it's been around a while. Weird, really weird. So your biggest win is something testing your water and then dosing based off of that test.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think it's critical to keep alk extremely stable, but that's what my machine tests for, and I'm using AFR, so I just have it dose to try to maintain a consistent alk, and that seems to keep everything in line. Stuff's growing, seems to be happy.
Definitely agree with you on the alk swing subject. I mean, pre-trident and things like that. I mean, you just said yourself, you would test and you would dump 50 ml in. I mean, the swings before all of this must have been pretty crazy, and corals were still alive.
And stuff was still fine. People doing kalkwasser. I don't know how much their alk changes a day, but if somebody's dosing based off pH, I imagine it moves a decent amount every day. I don't know. Works for them. Cool.
Agreed. Austin.
I mean, I think what's everyone say? 1 degree, 1 DKH alk a day swing is fine. Is that the old standard recommendation?
One full DKH.
Yeah, probably just a number pulled out of the air with nothing behind it. Somebody's like, "Oh yeah, that's easy to write down and remember."
Right.
1 is easy.
Yeah, 1.1's too much. Don't push the envelope.
You fucking lose 1.1, right?
Yeah, slow down, Icarus. But 1 is just fine. Just ride that line.
Okay, Austin. Are you our newest member, or did Jason S join after you? I think Jason S joined after you, but you are one of our newest members, so welcome. What is your biggest win in the hobby so far?
Did his membership fee check clear yet, Ron?
Hold on, there's a penny in my back pocket somewhere. I'll put it in a solo cup and send it off to you.
Oh, I don't have change. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
As far as growth goes, I would have to say just watching, or not, my biggest win would have to be growth. And that's just saying like, hey, I put coral into a tank and seeing it either split a new head or encrust or grow. Essentially, you're okay, like that makes me feel better about dumping all this money into a hobby. And now you're finally seeing it return.
And have you posted a bunch of pics or anything?
Yeah, they're all either in the advice channel or in the Austin's tank channel on the bottom.
Gotcha. So a shower and a grower.
Fuck's sake, man.
Little
I was,
Jinx
I
making
was,
dance.
I was hoping you'd pick up on it, right?
There's always gonna be that one like little foot in the door. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man.
Oh, man. Yeah, so your biggest win, Austin, is what you're saying is basically survival and a little bit of growth.
Right. I mean, because I've been in this hobby for 2 years now, roughly. Started out with like a 40 gallon and like progressively like worked my way up. I never had like a hold on, where's some wood? I've never had a crash. You know, like I've always came with close with like either bubble algae or like I had cyano in like my smallest tank, but I never had like one crash, so to say. So I've always been like bare minimum, like maintaining, like very little growth, not like a whole lot of show, so to say. And I have to say, going into a bigger tank made it easier. I don't know, maybe. But now,
How
like,
long has that bigger tank been running?
4 months.
Because I know some people are kind of the school of thought where you can just lift and shift. It's the same tank, just in a bigger box. But my
Right.
experience has been moving stuff like that. There's a bit of an adjustment period afterwards.
I mean, I had to wait. Like, I put in live rock, but like corals and stuff like that. But I still had to do like a small cycle each time. I mean, I went from a 40 gallon all in one to a Red Sea 350, which is like a 72 gallon display. And now I'm in a 525, which is 160 total volume. So, I mean, I've progressively gone up and up slowly. But this tank so far has shown me the most progress in like the least amount of time, if that makes sense.
My apologies, I'm getting slightly sidetracked by Brandon posting so many
Tell when
fucking clown
somebody read
photos.
the chat.
Sorry, guys.
Fuck's sake.
No, in 2 years, like 2 years kind this again, it's just a generality, but that kind of seems to be the time period where the training wheels come off the tank and it starts flying.
Okay.
Like stuff seems to kind of stabilized after that amount of time, and if you're happy with the growth now, it kind of seems to really ramp up.
I guess this is like the first time that I've actually like this morning, like my lights just came on and I'm like looking around my tank right now. And I'm like, hey, like that acro, which I have no idea the name of, it was like a random one from my local fish store. And I wanted to give it a shot. And it's like, oh, it's finally encrusting onto the rock off the plug. And it's been in there since day one, almost. You know, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, oh, my Zoa has like a new head, or it's just like the little things that matter, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's funny how when you move stuff in a tank, well, in my experience, when I've moved things from a tank to an upgrade, etc., things, it's not that things die. I've actually lost very little in tank transfers. I just find that there's this massive stall. Everything just sits like in cryostasis. No growth. Not massive loss in coloration. Still polyp extension, things like that, but everything just stops.
Yeah.
And like what?
And that's a great time to dial up your dosing, or to lean on your automated, or not your dosing, your testing, or to lean on your automated tester instead of just saying, okay, I was dosing 50 mils. Now I have 50% more volume. I'm going to just ramp it up to 75 and everything's going to be peachy.
Yep. And when this seal started to go, everything out the tank within half an hour into a big box, and then new tank came, threw it all together and all the rest of it. My Trident and my doses just took over.
What happened to the seal?
Yeah.
It started to go. It didn't leak, didn't burst, but it started to just down here actually, along the seal here. You could actually see. Yeah, I posted photos and a video of me dumping it in the skip with a forklift.
Damn.
That was a good day. But yeah.
yeah. For our newer members, that's why our solution to everything is a forklift. If something starts acting up, just get a forklift. Okay, tell them about the Wi-Fi plug, Ron.
So yeah, um, to get rid of this tank, it's a heavy box of glass. We got the forklift and we dumped it in the skip and we filmed it, and I think Jim even put a video on Instagram. So one day my Wi-Fi plug that was my main power source of cycling my Apex. So when your Apex, I was having problems with mine when the clocks changed. Now when I say having problems, nothing failed, nothing stopped working. The clock on Apex Fusion just was an hour out from what it was where I lived. And it warns you, it shows you local time and what your Apex time is. And it really infuriated me. I don't have OCD, that's an actual illness, but I do like things a certain way, and this really irritated me. Power cycling it fixed it for me, so I installed this Wi-Fi plug that no matter what was happening, I can power cycle my entire Apex and it'll come back on. This plug was starting to go wonky. And I decided, well, I'll replace it, put it in the bin. But instead of just putting it in the bin, I went and got the forklift. I sat the plug on the forks. I drove the plug to the skip. And then
in the middle of a business day with employees watching what you're doing.
True story. And eventually it just
what a convenience it might be to have a staff during a tank emergency. Like, hey, come help me real quick and I'll pay you for it.
Well, they already get paid, so it's just they're already here. They're on the clock.
So there's video of this little teeny tiny plug getting dropped in the dumpster. And then what happened, Ron?
Oh my God, I forgot the last bit. So I've already mentioned the fact that I don't have OCD. That's an illness, but I like things being a certain way.
Right.
I then realized I'd put the plug in the wrong skip. So I had to climb in the skip, find the plug, and put it in the recycling skip.
Oh man,
Oh, fuck.
that sucks.
I'm looking at all these photos the AI has drawn of Ronald McDonald, and I have to admit, that is me.
I don't know, Ron. Like this guy here looks like he's been in some sort of nefarious activities.
Yeah. The last one with the white beard and the sort of black mustache is
Suspect.
Definitely a drug dealer.
with his little balloon animal.
His hands in his pocket too. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, what's happening there?
Is that a balloon animal in your pocket? I feel like we also could have been named Reef Clowns.
Well, that was one name that I actually threw around on Discord. And I can't remember who it was that I'm assuming it was fake offense. But Jim was like, "You fucking calling me a reef clown?" I was like, well, we are.
Funny how.
Right, anyway, back to the subject. Ian, nice to see you. What is your biggest win in the reefing hobby?
I would have to stay sticking with it because it's been pretty tricky. I mean, it goes smooth and then finds a way to throw a wrench at you.
It is a hobby that can humble a person very, very quickly.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the hobby?
3 years. Over 3.
Oh, you've gone
So
through
I'm
some storms then.
This
a
is
little
definitely the
bit.
most
Right
stressful
now,
hobby.
this most recent thing that happened was like my first real like fish death like that. I've had one die off, like a fish jumped out, and I'm like, oh crap. But nothing like this where it just wiped half of everything. And fish that I've had for a very long time from the start. And it was heartbreaking to pull them out.
Yeah.
What this hobby, there's an old line about people who ride motorcycles. There's two kind of motorcycle riders. Those who have crashed and those who haven't yet.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like with reef tanks. It's like eventually, like I hope I've learned enough from killing a whole tank because hope I don't do it again. But I feel like that's kind of everyone's learning curve. Is I hate that there's deaths involved, but it's like
Yeah.
it's so much trial and error. It feels like reefers, everyone has a crash somewhere along the line, whether it's self-induced, equipment, disease, whatever. You never know when the trap's going to spring.
Yep.
This
But I
brings
would
me down-
say
sorry, when you
I'd
go.
say a good win would be stability.
Yeah.
This past like 9 months, I've been able to get this tank really stable, and growth has been a lot more healthier. And the coral's a lot more happier, and I've been happy about that.
Nice, man.
Except for those dang little bugs on the acros,
Yeah.
those guys.
The
But everything else is fine. But they still grow. They're a lot bigger than when I first got them, especially that green slimer. It was just a little stick, and now it's like the size of my hand.
Green
I got my
slimers
first
are so cool.
yesterday.
Sorry, say again, Austin.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, I got my first frag of my green slimer yesterday.
Nice.
I got my
Nice.
first ever green slimer acro with my last coral delivery about a month and a half ago. Nobody's ever had it here.
Yeah.
Really?
There's a reason. There's a reason it's a classic. It looks great. It grows well. It's interesting shape, nice colors.
The color is incredible. I mean, I've got green corals in my frag system, but the Bali green slimer is another level of green.
Yeah.
Very nice.
The only other
it's-
coral I've got that comes close to it is an Acropora cumbensis. It's pretty crazy neon, but it's very small still. It's still got a lot of growing to do.
Yeah.
So Ian, yes, your win is remaining in the hobby, although you've had some trials and tribulations.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good on you sticking with it, because it's harsh. As far as hobbies go, it's harsh. I mean, you buy a set of golf clubs, you might have a bad round. You don't kill hundreds of animals.
Yeah.
You might hit the occasional bird with your golf ball or something,
I'm in both hobbies. My wallet is drained.
Yeah.
And it's not just
A golfer.
the loss of the animals. You start crunching the numbers. You're like, oh shit. Once you move past what you've done and the mortality, you start looking at the financial impact. You're like, awesome. I might as well have just thrown my wallet in the toilet.
Yeah.
That's why you don't do that.
Yeah. Could you imagine these poor sods that
Ignorance is
spend
bliss on some things
thousands-
for sure.
See these people that spend thousands of dollars on a single fish, and it just dies. I mean, it's going to die anyway. When you're buying something that's going to die, but spending thousands of dollars on something and then losing it within a couple of weeks, that has got to sting.
Yeah.
Got a live arrival guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Alex, nice to see you. What is your biggest win in the reefing hobby?
Like a good one?
I was going to say, I think he can be pretty literal here.
When you build an aquarium and fill it with water and it doesn't leak.
When your house didn't turn into a 3,000 square foot sauna from having a pool in the basement.
That would be bad.
So your biggest win in the reefing hobby is the fact that your tank has not leaked.
Yes. Well, I should say tanks because I've built several now. So, yeah, that's probably the most nerve-wracking part of it.
The plywood tank stuff is so cool. I've looked at that stuff for years. I get the idea, but I can't imagine trusting myself to hold water. Like I can build a stand. I trust myself to do that, but to the people doing the plywood tanks or even resealing the glass tanks, that's not for me. I'm not confident I'm going to be able to nail it.
It's a patience game. There's a guy out. It's actually in the UK. What the hell is his name? No, I can't think of it. But he's a big freshwater guy, and he built a 700-gallon freshwater tank. And he's had it leak on him like, I don't know, like 5 times or something.
He's had the same system has leaked 5 times.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, like he sealed the glass, and like 48 hours after sealing the glass, he attempted to fill it, which that's like a big no. Like, don't do
Is
that.
it like a monster tank where it's like a half-inch thick bead?
I never saw all the construction, but when it was starting to be described as it was filled up, it would be okay for a while, and then it started leaking. Something was not holding, and it was expanding. But they basically were like draining the tank, trying to seal that area, and then like filling it again. And it was like, unfortunately, with a plywood tank, like once if it leaks, you're pretty much starting over again.
So instead of I came, I saw, I conquered, I built, I filled, I failed.
Once the water gets, if the water gets into the plywood, it'll start delaminating.
What's the appeal of using plywood here? I haven't heard of this one yet.
Money.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's you're not using glass or acrylic, so it's
Look-
literally just plywood.
Look up
Anyway.
Monster Fish Keepers.
Okay.
There's a forum there with tons of DIY plywood builds. But
Okay.
when people start getting 1,000 gallons plus, way less expensive to have one pane of glass, especially if you've only got the one viewing side.
Ah, okay.
I just looked up the guy. It's Aquarium Adventures in the UK.
He's had a lot of adventures for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I tried to provide a little advice.
Join us on this week's adventure with black mold.
Reefing
It's
with Crocs on.
every time
to
I see
insulate yourself.
every time I see someone rush, that's when they generally get in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
well,
like-
this hobby is built on speed for sure.
Yeah, because someone was asking me like, well, how long did you let your glass cure in place? And I was like, for my smaller tanks, it was a minimum of 2 weeks. And my big tank, I let it sit for 12 weeks before I attempted to put water.
And when people ask questions like that, they're a lot of times they're fishing for answers. They're looking for somebody to say, it'll be fine. Fill it up. Just let it sit overnight and then fill her up. Let it rip, bro. YOLO. It's not their problem. And that's what I love about our group is there's nobody telling anyone how to do stuff. People can come for advice. We'll tell you what we did, but
Yeah,
And
but
it's your tank. You got to figure it out.
With, but I did it this way. I'm not saying you should. We always.
Yeah, I tried. Yeah, and I've even done pond liner tanks with EDPM pond liner and put glass faces in them.
Interesting.
So it's a plywood shell with basically pond felt in it. And then I learned the origami of folding a flat EDPM pond liner as a single piece into a cube, put it into that shell, cut the window out, and then found a product that would seal EDPM to glass, which was RTV 108. And I've had those tanks running for a few years. So that's a real cheap option there because you don't have to worry about epoxy or fiberglass or anything. Like it's like $150 pond liner. So I'm like, if one of these ever leaked and the concept works, I could buy a new pond liner and basically within probably like a month redo the whole tank.
Wow.
Well, when this seal looked like it was starting to go last year, that was one of the ideas I had because we sell pond liner, hundreds of meters of it every year, and we've got it all sitting right there. Firestone rubber pond liner and the EPDM. And one of my ideas was literally just scape out, pond liner in, let the water infill where the pond liner was, and put the scape back in, and just wait until the next tank came. But I decided that the pond liner we have here, I wasn't entirely sure how clean it was. I didn't know how clean I could get it. And I already had the great big tub at that time, which I have used before, and it has worked. So I just decided to go down the tub route. And I needed the tank out of the way for the new one coming anyway. So it all had to get stripped at some point anyway. So
Yeah, and I got the pond liner idea. There was a guy it's a long time ago. He built 4,000 gallon tank that had acrylic windows facing outside, one inside. And then it was really tall too. I think it was like 5 foot tall tank, but the sides and bottom of it were all pond liner. And I was like really intrigued by his idea. So when I had to tear my original plywood tanks down to move, I made a pond liner, a portable 150 gallon pond liner tank to like basically temp house everybody at a townhouse before my new house was ready, and then move it there too. So it's an interesting material. I never trusted like sea urchins in it, because I think they would probably be able to maybe chew. I don't know. Maybe that's something I'll screw around with at some point. But it's 45 mils thick. It's thicker than most epoxy coatings you're going to put on.
45 mils? Is this the millimeters thing again? Do you mean microns?
Yeah. What the hell? They always call it micrometers. 45 micrometers.
Got you, because I'm like, holy shit, pond liner that thick.
And is that attached to the wood at all, or is it just the water pressure pushing it against the wood? There's like no adhesive or anything?
Yeah, no, I put felt down just like you would a normal pond. The only thing I put extra in there was in the corners. I think I put a few pieces of cardboard just to kind of bolster it a bit. And then, like I said, I learned a folding technique where basically you take one flat piece of pond liner and you could fold it into a cube. And then basically once I folded it into a cube, I secured it down on the top a little bit, and then it's just the water pressure.
I'm giggling thinking about somebody doing all this work and then just putting it in their plywood box and stapling it all the way around.
It's funny because like the one mistake I made with those tanks, that was my bad DIY mistake, is I lined the bottoms with travertine tile. That was my dumb DIY idea that I was like, this is going to be great. Except they had a lot of some of those tiles somewhere had heavy metal zinc in them and reached it out and poisoned my tank.
Oh shit.
Pollen, heavy metal.
Yeah, that took like a year and a half to figure out.
Oh man.
Ugh.
And what a great use case for ICP there. When you banged your head against the wall, you can't figure out what the hell's going on, and then you get back a giant red bar that zinc is off the charts.
Well, and
Gives
so
you something to chase down.
I did a total of 11 ICP tests on that system. Because when I start a system, generally I will do one just to give myself a sanity check. And it has, the one I did on that system, the zinc was already at 35 parts per billion when I filled the tanks. It was about 1,800 gallons of water at that point. And I looked at it and I go, I'm not worried about this. And then things went well for a while, but the soft corals didn't do well. Then soft corals weren't opening and weird shit started happening. As I did more tests, I saw it spiked way up. Do water changes, it drop a little bit, but then start rising again. So like, then it was trial and error. I thought it was magnets. I found corroded magnets. So I was like, oh, that's it. I tried all the metal removers I could get, which most of them wouldn't remove this form. And then finally it came down to, what have I done different? And I was like, well, the damn tile's the last thing. And when I removed it, well, most of it, there's a handful of pieces left. All of a sudden, the level stopped climbing after water changes and just kept going down. And then I discovered GFO would absorb this form of zinc. So I was using that in a combination with water changes to eventually get rid of it.
Interesting.
You're definitely doing all your cardio today, Alex.
You know, when I am on the phone at work or like this and I'm not in front of my tanks, I pace all day.
Yeah.
So like, and it's funny, I will get done with my day. I'm like, man, am I tired? It's like my little pedometer on my phone's like, you exceeded your step goal. You walked like 15,000 steps. And I was like, no wonder I'm tired. That was like 4 miles of walking in my house.
My watch tells me I need to stand up a lot.
Yep.
I love it. Love it.
It's like, shame, get off your ass.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you're definitely not going to do your steps, but you can at least fucking stand up.
Right.
Oh,
Look who it is.
Jason's not even
Look
got
who
a
it
top
is.
on.
Hi guys.
Hold on, are
What's
you
up, man?
only wearing sleeves now? No top, just sleeves.
That would be awesome, actually. That would be fantastic.
Get some elastic bands and just stick some sleeves.
Just the sleeves.
Right, there's Jason's RAF t-shirt on the back, just the sleeves. Love it. How are you, Jason?
I want to see you do like the Hulk Hogan thing one episode.
Just with
You know,
these
just show up with the RAF tank top on and then tear it apart.
Yes. Jason, while we have you, really good to see you. What is your biggest win in the hobby?
Oh, I don't know if I've had any. Honestly.
Not the softball size Duncan?
It seems like a just repetitive motion of fail after fail. And every time you say, oh, that was good, and then you go, no, it fucked up again.
Well, a few people have actually said their biggest win in the hobby is the fact that they're still in the hobby. So it sounds to me like you're maybe similar.
I think the biggest win in the
I haven't
hobby
learned my
for
lesson
me,
yet.
is that I found you guys. Finding you guys changed everything. Like, I've learned so much more from you guys than any other video or, you know, whatever it may be. Forum, I've learned more from you guys. So that's probably the biggest win, is just finding a group of people that I can talk to. And, you know, if I have a problem, I can say, hey, what do y'all think? And I get an answer that makes sense.
Yeah, no fluff, no bullshit.
And then, you know, dick and fart jokes at the same time. Exactly. Which is fantastic.
Have you tasted it? No, I'm totally with you there. This is one of the biggest wins for the hobby for me, is just finding like-minded people. So isolated here. I know I've said it before, boring, blah, 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 boo-hoo me. But not having somebody to literally talk about anything to do with the hobby, just going to my local fish shop and watching people dribble on the floor and dig under roads with spoons. No, it wasn't ideal. So finding you guys and having you guys in my pocket, taking my phone out of my pocket, no matter where I am in the world, and just going, check
I like
this
being
shit
in your pocket.
Gonna say.
It smells so nice.
Say your pants pocket or your personal pocket, Ronald?
What does it taste?
Oh, I don't know that saying. What does personal pocket mean?
You don't know what the old prison pocket is?
Prison? Bumhole?
Pocket pool.
There you go.
Pocket pool, did you just say? Pot in the brown, is that the term? What is it?
Similar.
Yeah. So, do you know what pocket pool is? Do they have that term in Scotland?
Well, I mean, maybe they do, but I don't know it. What's pocket pool?
It's kind of like that Ronald McDougal photo in the chat here where he's got his hand in his pocket.
Oh,
Just saw that fucking
so
time.
having a game of pocket pool, that means, oh, okay, got you. So just to go back, yeah, it's just nice having you guys in my pocket. I can take my phone out anytime and go, look at this. And it's not even reef related.
Yeah.
Well, that's how, you're in Scotland.
I
and
know
guess that
somebody finds a porta potty. Hey guys, check this out.
you don't have friends here either that are into the hobby. So,
Same.
and you go, like you said, you go into the LFS and like you see people and you're like, I don't want to be friends with that person. Like, these guys are fucking.
The way I judge the people in my local fish store is that if you can taste them just by being near them, the chances are not friendship material, my friend.
That's not a joke. Okay? I worked in a store where I tasted a customer standing many feet from them, and it was very unpleasant.
So you know exactly what I mean then. And it is, I don't know how many multiple days of not washing or whatever it is. It's like, whoa. And you can't get it out your nose and you go home and you're like, yep.
There was a dude in our one store that the fish row for fish was maybe like 60 feet long. And he went and stood in the middle of it and just stared at one of the tanks for like a half hour. And it was like, if you could, it reminded me of one of those old cartoons where the smell was like a cloud.
The stink lines.
Trying to grab you. And like, it was so bad, I was dry heaving. Like, I've never smelled a human, like, and I walked by a lot of homeless people and stuff in like New Orleans and stuff when I visited, and they smelled better than this dude did.
God.
So I think we're on the far end of the hobby spectrum as far as, I don't think it's normal for people with saltwater tanks to talk about it all day, to chat with their friends about it on a Saturday morning, to be on Discord all the time. So we're super serious about it. It makes me wonder what the turnover in the hobby's like. How many people are just casual and they think the hobby is buying a new tank every quarter because the old one dies? Like,
interesting.
Yeah. It is a concern.
I don't know what the retail perspective is, because from a store perspective, if everything you sell lives, you're going to put yourself out of business. You got to have customers. You either need fresh meat for the grinder or people who keep killing shit who need to buy new shit.
We love a really, really hard frost here in Scotland. It's brilliant.
There's always a group of people that are like that, but I always found that you'd get those people that come in and just randomly buy, or the new person, and then they fail. But then, there was always, even the people that didn't necessarily kill stuff, but once they had a good established tank, they would tend to be the people that would upgrade, or, hey, I've had these fish for years, and like, they just, some fish only live so long. So it's like you kind of get them in a cycle of, they slowly are always adding shit. So,
yeah. Well, my LFS owner always says, every time I go in there, he says, "Where have you been, man?" I'm like, I haven't needed to come in. I haven't killed anything, or I haven't needed to add anything. So
yeah, our relationship.
I don't see him very often anymore. I used to see him all the time. I don't see him very often anymore.
I just buy food now.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that also depends too. Because like for me, I have 7, 8 local fish stores within like the next like 10 miles, 10, 20 miles of me.
Wow.
So it's like, and they each have like their own, like, not expertise, but like I like one fish store for their fish. I like one fish store for their corals or like products, etc. So like I bounce around, but then I feel bad because like I want to give them all business, you know? So it's kind of hard to like diverse, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot in my area.
Where are you located where you have that kind of retail presence? That's awesome.
Arizona?
Yeah, and Arizona of all places, the hottest freaking state.
Wow.
I have
eight local fish stores.
Yeah, easily.
Whoa.
Damn.
My
Are you in the
local
Phoenix
fish store is
area?
25 miles
Yeah.
away.
25 miles.
Yeah, and that's one.
The closest one to me is 25 miles, and I've only got 2.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'll do like a screenshot and I'll post it in Discord. But there's probably in the Phoenix area, which is probably 40 miles top to bottom, roughly, with all smaller towns. There's probably 12 to 15.
And just to give Ron a sense of scale, how big is Phoenix, the Phoenix metro area population wise?
Hold on, I can look that up. It's in the millions for sure.
What?
Sorry
latest
about the leaf
result.
blower noise. I have a Taters clone over here. He's been blowing the sidewalk off for the last 25 minutes. It's like it's 40 feet of sidewalk. He's been blowing it off for like 25, 30 minutes.
He's wasting all that time when he could be cutting his grass.
Oh, he's done cut it. Like I think he cut it yesterday, and I think he cut it again this morning. Fucking guy.
4.7 million people in the Phoenix area.
Wow. Yeah, you said. I'm in Scotland. We are a small nation.
The whole nation's 4.7 million, right?
Yeah, I think I can spit from one side of the country to the other. So, Mr. McLean has joined us. Zach, how are you? What is your biggest win in the hobby? Hopefully he's awake. Sometimes he just... Oh, here he goes.
I don't know, man. Biggest win? Not letting myself defeat myself. I don't know. I struggle with depression. And sometimes whenever I'm at a low point, I let things go on, a lot of it's automated, at least for me now. So a lot of it's just kind of on autopilot. And at that point, that's kind of where things go south. And so as long as I stay out of that rut, stay hands on and shit like that, I don't know. That's just me. That's a personal win.
Yeah.
I think this hobby actually does have a lot of people that either do suffer from mental illness or have in the past. It's actually incredible how I actually got into this hobby for a focus during really bad depression. And
not to trivialize things. And again, OCD is a legitimate medical diagnosis. But all of us in this hobby, especially on the coral side of it, seem to have a very strong need to control things. We're testing, we're dosing, we're trying to replicate something in a little stupid glass box. So we're all typically very particular people.
Yeah. Ocean in the box.
I mean, yeah, we're all seem to be kind of wired a similar way.
I totally agree with you. There's no rational, sane, normal person that is going to get into reefing. And maybe they're the people that don't last so long. I don't know. Maybe they're the ones that just want literally the aesthetic of a fish tank, don't want to get into the weeds of it and the testing and the chemistry of it, and the tank then builds and they sell and they get out. So yeah, I really appreciate that input, Zach. I think that's a great bit of input into the chat, that your biggest win is beating yourself and winning and keeping yourself on track. I think that's a great thing. And Mr. Budnick has now joined us.
And nobody wants to just keep stuffing fresh meat in the grinder.
Right.
But you gotta, you can't, stuff's going to happen. You got to persevere.
the psychology behind animals is essentially like, how some people get emotional support and stuff, like, you could probably generalize that to aquariums, is the fact that, hey, if I am worried about taking care of living things, then I'm going to be less in my head about why I'm depressed. So, it just makes sense talking with you guys too, in the sense where, like, yeah, it can be one of those things where we're like, shit, man, I'm feeling so low, I need to like get this tank so it doesn't die. But it kind of works both ways. I feel like it can help motivate you and keep going.
Yeah,
it's an
was
outlet.
a focus. It was a complete focus. Take me away, and I knew nothing about any aspect of reefing.
Right.
So it was, holy fuck, 400-litre tank. Unfortunately, due to Bernadette, 350 litres of water, a bucket of fish, no salt, no way to make water, and so it was. My legs were, oh my god, but it was perfect for me at the time. So yeah.
I mean, what else would you fixate on? If not this, there would be some other kind of outlet.
Just masturbation.
I thought you still fixated on that.
Yeah, I thought that was still at the top of the Ron need pyramid.
I'm 45 now. Things have changed. So Mr. Budnick has joined us, who owns a store in Michigan called Great Lakes Corals. What is your biggest win, Mr. Budnick? If you're okay to talk, his store might be open and he might be swamped with customers.
Probably a line out the door. They've heard how awesome GLC is.
Well, if there's a line out the door, it's because they're all waiting in a queue to get all of the corals from the bushes. I don't think he's able to talk.
Back to nature.
Off you go. Yeet.
A lot of xenia out there, right?
Whoa, here's a question, Brandon. So you just got rid of a lot of xenia. Where did it go?
I'm not lying here. All right, so there's a giant. I had this really shit garage, right? And it looks like some Buffalo Bill type stuff. Like, it's the extra garage in this house.
Okay.
It's kind of like tucked into a hill. And in the hill is a giant fucking groundhog, right? So I took the whole rock that, was, covered with xenia. I just threw it back there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I like all this build up and the answer.
Man, it's back there. Fucking
the groundhog is like, what
is
this? He's like, what is this weird shit?
The holes this dude digs, it's like some shit out of Vietnam, Like, it's just, I'll have to send you guys some photos, but yeah, I threw the xenia rock back there. It's because, I'll deal with it later.
Next time you see
I'm
him,
about to
ask
go.
him if he was stationed in Da Nang.
I will.
I'm about to go full Caddyshack because fucking moles have encroached. The neighbor had moles. I'm seeing tunnels under the fence line.
Oh my god.
So yeah, this could be a big deal for me.
Hey, I'm that neighbor. I'm the neighbor that has the moles that are fucking your yard up. I'm that guy. Because I'm like, yeah, whatever. And you're like, my lawn.
I know. I'm dreading the idea of just waking up and then there being a scar across my precious.
My precious.
That is horrible. But anyway, Jason, that's your second T-shirt. Now got its comment on the back. I'm the neighbor with the moles.
Love it.
Mole, 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 mole.
Oh my god. I thought we were going to have to move on to fails, but there's been so many tangents so far. We're on our way to the hour and a half mark. So if I was to open up the limits of biggest win in the hobby to second biggest win, would anybody have a second biggest? I've already kind of mentioned mine, which is pretty much the automated testing and dosing. For me, it's great. I do very little. I just fill up my dosing containers. That's about it, really. Calibrate now and again. Don't get me wrong. I'm on top of that. Mm-hmm. I would say that's my second biggest win. Does anyone have a second biggest win that they were struggling to choose between?
Well, I mean, the second biggest win for me was switching to a bigger tank with a sump. And I know that seems trivial to most everybody that, started with a sump. But when you came from a tank with hang on the back equipment like I did, having a sump is like, dude, it's a huge deal. Like it's like mind blowing how big of a deal
It's a
it is.
big leap mentally too, like having the confidence that it's going to work, that shit's not going to overflow, that you know what to do with all the equipment. But
Yes.
yeah,
It's
once
supposed to
you
overflow.
get it, you're like, oh, I've been missing this forever.
Yeah, how did I live without it? Like I would have had so much more success in the hobby if I would have started with a sump. I can tell you, because a lot of the dumb shit that went on, like that I fucked all up, was because of the crappy equipment I was using. Not that the hang on the back stuff doesn't work, but coming into saltwater with hang on the back stuff is like hard.
Yeah.
It's fine for somebody that knows what they're doing. You know, like look at Jim's at Jim's I don't do fucking shit tank. It's got a hang on the back filter on it. Works fine. But he already knows what he's doing. You know, like he's already got it figured out. So that's not a big deal for him. But like for when you first come in, if that's the direction that you go, you really have to be on top of it all the time. Otherwise, because in like 2 days, everything's like half dead if you're not careful. or you overheat the tank to 95 degrees.
I remember going to pick up that very
Which
first
I did. It
tank
was horrible.
of mine, and when the guy opened the cabinet to show me the sump and the skimmer and stuff, I didn't know what a skimmer was. I thought I was getting 2 tanks. I didn't even know water went from the little tank in the stand up to the big tank and then back down.
Well, technically, it is 2, so you did get 2.
Yeah, too.
But I didn't understand the functionality of a sump. I didn't realize the water was doing this. It's like, oh,
Yeah, there was
when I started in this hobby, they were using wood blocks for air stones. So
Yeah.
I've got. Don't ask me why. I've got one in my drawer. And I, do you know what the weirdest thing about having this in my drawer is? I have never used one.
well, I mean, for what they were at the time, they actually made a fairly fine bubble that you couldn't really get until like Venturi started kind of coming out, and then you had like the downdraft skimmers like Aquaseas, which I was always a big fan of them. But that's all people really had at the time. And it's like, oh, my wood. I'll tell you what, from a sales point, it was great because the stupid things don't last very long. So people be coming in to go, I need my wood air stones.
I'm trying to remember if it was Ian. Was it you? One of the chats, you actually. Oh no, hold on. It was you, Brandon. You loved the fine bubbles.
The effervescence of the bubbles?
Yes, is that not what got you into aquatics? Or something you said in your tank tour? Or was that just bullshit? I think it was bullshit.
I can't remember specifically, but bubbles? Yeah.
You just bubbles?
You haven't used, that.
This is where you need the tiny bubbles drop.
You haven't used the stone or the block of wood for your tanks, Ron, but I'm starting to wonder what you do use that for, if it's still in your possession there.
I have no idea why I have one of these, and it's brand new, unused.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. Does it smell like bumhole?
Oh, how does it
taste? Where it's been?
It does smell like bumhole, but it's not mine.
Oh, so it's a different brand, huh?
One of those employees you got, Ron.
The person's name is Sander. Fuck's sake. So Austin is still here. So he clearly.
Why don't we have more friends?
Why is our Discord nearly 2 years old and it's got 55 members?
Yeah.
And out of the 55, only 20 people talk.
I was going to ask what the ratio was there.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
20 might be generous.
Yeah, I think it's probably like 10 to 12 of us tops that actually talk. And the rest are just like, yep, okay. Or like they just have like the channel muted and then just never heard from again.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I find it weird. I do find it weird. But there you go. So, Mr. Budnick, are you still there? Are you able to talk?
I think he's farting in those bags.
Yeah,
in
but
the
I mean,
bags.
I can fart and talk at the same time, Brandon.
I mean, well, you're multi-talented. I mean, come on. You were a drummer. I mean, you guys are doing all sorts of shit at once.
Farting in a bag during a gig, could you imagine? Farting in a bag's quite a good name for a band.
It is a good name.
Hold on. Did Mr. Bungle not have a song called Fart in a Bag?
That I'm not sure of.
Brandon, hit Google.
I'm going to Google
Come
it.
on. Fart in a Bag by Mr. Bungle.
Okay, fart in a bag.
Mr. Bungle. God, I haven't heard of them in a long time.
What an amazing band.
Yeah, there is a song called Fart in a Bag. Yep. The album is called Bowel of Chili. I think. I don't know. I'm probably saying it wrong.
If anyone here has never heard of Mr. Bungle, then Google Mr. Bungle, and I would strongly recommend the first song you listen to, The Girls of Porn. It is quite simple. It's the voice, one of the best vocalists in the world, I would suggest. Mr. Faith No More.
Mike Patton.
Yeah. His voice is just off the chart.
I forgot that was who that was.
Yeah.
I think I saw him open up for Tool in Richmond many years ago. I think he was playing with like Dillinger Escape Plan or something.
Ooh, Dillinger, what a gig. I had to take the day off
That's a
work
pretty good
after
show.
Dillinger.
Yeah.
I don't know how the guitar players do that with their feet and not break bones.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely insane.
Right?
Yeah. Bonkers. So we've completely and utterly gone off of the subject.
I mean, fart in a bag. I think it's a good link. That Zach told me when he shipped me the corals from GLC that he farts in the bags.
So what did you do with the bags?
They're packed
put 'em-
with love.
They're on the wall. With some candles and a picture of Zach.
You
but,
definitely did what Jason did.
Absolutely.
He put a traffic cone over them and then just inhaled.
Shit.
Oh my God. I'm disappointed Mr. Budnick's not getting involved, but he's obviously too busy. He'll be enjoying
Did he give-
I'm sure.
Did he give Brianna the day off?
What have you learned, Mr. Budnick?
Loser!
Well, I think unless anyone has any other wins they want to talk about, we'll wrap it up, because I assume probably the best route to go is have the next one as biggest fail. Could be a really, really depressing show, but I think it's really important to talk about both. So, yeah, wins has been good, excellent. I have a few personal favourites in there, the wins, especially Zach Warner's. I think that was a great one to bring up. Well done, my man.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry, Alex, you want to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, I think I'd put my second biggest win as when you first have that time in the hobby where you're like, I'm actually getting this. Like, it's working.
The I am so smart moment.
The gears are
I don't know
grinding.
if I call it that, but like, hey, my patience and everything, or my lessons learned, like this shit's paying off, and it's doing what I want it to do, and looking the way I want it to look. Like that's a good feeling. I always like when I first started having what I call success.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great win for anybody in any form of life, is to get a handle on things, especially this hobby. I don't feel like I'm ever going to get to the end of it, but that is why I'm doing it. I need to have something that just keeps me on my toes. If I nailed this hobby in a week, I would have moved on.
Yeah, I think you still get that too. It's just like that when you finally get the confidence and stuff to be like, hey, I'm okay with it. But like, hey, shit, corals grew, fish lived.
Yeah.
I'm out of the perpetual cycle here of failure, and I could be happy.
Yeah, I think as long as you learn. So if I went on Reefy as Fuck every day and posted a photo of an Aptasia and said, "What is this?" That's a
Taste
bad,
it.
That's a bad sign. Taste it. Who said taste it?
Another good shirt idea, Ron.
Yeah. Oh,
That would-
yeah. I did have a T-shirt years ago, and I actually got slightly verbally abused for it in a shopping mall. Anyway, it just said on the front, simply, it just said, "This ain't gonna suck itself." I was asked if I thought I was clever, to which I said, "Well, do you want to know my A-level grades?" Because I mean, it ain't gonna suck itself. So it's a T-shirt stating fact. Anyway, on that note, I think I'll wrap it up. Thank you so much to everybody for dedicating your Saturday morning to another literal Talking Bollocks. And I think we'll get together again soon and we'll talk about the biggest fails in the hobby. So thank you so much to everybody. I'm going to wrap this up. And if anyone wants to continue chatting, we can jump on Discord. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care, man.
Cheers, guys.